Time now for Conversation Nation. Joining me tonight, MSNBC contributor Maria Teresa Kumar, Jason Johnson, political science professor at Hiram College, and political strategist Angela Rye. Thank you all for being here tonight.
Glad to be here, Rev.
An unlikely political feud is getting more intense. Today, President Obama arrived in Oregon ahead of his visit to Nike headquarters to sell his trade bill. It's become a very hot debate for Democrats. Senator Elizabeth Warren is at odds with the president on this, and today she hammered the deal again, arguing it would give too much power to foreign corporations. Quote, "The administration says you have nothing to worry about. Frankly, just trust us isn't good enough." It comes after recent reports of Obama administration officials calling Warren's attacks, quote, baseless and desperate. It's a new round in the war of words that's been going on for weeks.
I love Elizabeth. We're allies on a whole host of issues, but she's wrong on this.
My view is when the process is rigged, then the outcome's likely to be rigged.
Maria, we don't often see it get this hot inside the Democratic Party. Do both sides need to bring this down a level?
I think so, but it's not a secret, Reverend, that there's always been a bit of tension with the Obama administration and Senator Warren. If you guys recall, when she basically was heading up the oversight organization, trying to make sure that government became more efficient, she really wanted that post, and she didn't get it. And basically her plan B was to run for Senate, and she really believes in increased transparency.
So are you saying that this is personal because she wanted a job she didn't get?
No, I'm not saying that it's personal. It's that it's always been known that there's been tension, and so it's one way that what I'm saying is that not only is there tension, but it's not a surprise that she wants increased transparency, because that's basically what she's always advocated. She's always advocated for the little guy. But look, Reverend, I used to work on trade issues when I worked on Capitol Hill for Congressman Vic Fazio, and it was something that was incredibly difficult because it's difficult not to provide the president with fast-track trade authority so that he can negotiate on behalf of Americans. And looking at what we do know of TPP, it's one of the few trade agreements where you actually bring in the heft of American policy and talk about free trade agreement and looking at the environment and tightening restrictions and making sure that other people are following the rules and playing fairly by worker rights. Is it perfect? No, possibly not. But we do recognize that when you're trading in multilateral negotiations, not everything is going to be perfect, but you want to be in the game and not on the sidelines.
Jason, you're smiling.
I completely disagree, and Elizabeth Warren is correct. Look, if you want to go down the specific details, is it going to destroy Dodd-Frank? Probably not in any immediate sense. But what she's sounding the alarm on is, just because this may be an okay policy under President Obama doesn't mean it can't be used to erode workers' rights, financial regulations, and environmental policies under another president. So what she's talking about is the long-term consequences of these trade pacts, which is oftentimes what people don't want to think about.
But we haven't seen
what this pact is. This is the thing, is that these folks are going to basically...
We haven't seen the pact, though.
That's exactly right. I'm sorry, Jason. Let me just jump in here. I just have to say this one thing that is really, really bothering me, and I emphasized this with you last time, Rev. TPA is completely different from TPP.
Right.
TPA grants the president the authority to negotiate on behalf of this country, which virtually every president since Eisenhower has had. TPP is a deal that is still very much in formation. TPP is the deal that will be made public for 4 months before Congress even has to vote on it.
Right, and
TPP, one more thing, Maria. TPP will be given 60 days for public comment before the president signs it into law. Let's deal with facts before we deal with hefty debates with ideas and grandiose things and unicorns and stuff. Like, let's just be for real with this.
Right, and I think, and we have to look...
There are no unicorns involved here. It's just looking at what the future may be.
Wait a minute, Jason.
There's no unicorns involved here. It's just Elizabeth Warren is just voicing legitimate concerns.
No, but address the point that Angela raised. The difference between TPA and TPP. TPA, the authority for the president to negotiate, which is something that we've seen for many presidents, is different than TPP, and TPP has to be transparent. We're talking about two different things here, like it's all one thing.
Right.
That's exactly
and
right.
Congress has to vote up or down on any trade agreement anyway. What we're doing is we're providing the president the authority to have America at the table. And let's face it, in an increasingly globalized world, we want to be at that table. We want to be negotiating on behalf.
We have to be.
All
It's
right,
key to our survival.
let me move on. We're not going to, Jason's not going to agree on that one. Now to Jeb Bush's foreign policy team. Back in February, he distanced himself from his brother, saying he was his own man. But this week, when donors asked him who advises him on U.S.-Israel policy, he said, and I'm quoting, "If you want to know who I listen to for advice, it's him." Who is this him, you might ask? It's his brother George. The Washington Post reports the Republicans in the room spoke on the condition of anonymity to divulge information about the proceedings where confidentiality was insisted upon by the event's host. The Post also notes the revelation, quote, indicates that the siblings may be closer than often portrayed. The relationship is often described as cordial and warm, but distant on policy matters. All this comes after we learned that 19 of Jeb's 21 foreign policy advisors worked for his father, his brother, or both. Jason, how risky a move would this be for Jeb?
This is horribly risky, and I can already see the commercials next summer of someone saying, where does Jeb Bush get his policy advice from? George W. Bush. And then black and white letters talking about all the soldiers that we lost and all the millions of dollars that we spent on the wars in Iraq. This is what happens when you have no political resume since 2002. You're just desperately going after your brother for advice no matter how much he failed. This is terrible for Jeb Bush and really bad for the Republican Party.
Maria?
I think that's absolutely right. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the fact that he's actually extending an invitation from his brother to come and give him policy advice. It's just the policy advice that he's administered under his own tenure that George W. Bush did, that's the problem. And I think that it's actually going to alienate a lot of the base and a lot of independence that he's going to need in order to win the nomination.
Angela, but this is not a formal advisory role. This is that he will have influence.
Yeah, I mean, the reality of it is no matter how much he's his own man, he's still his father's son and he's still W's brother. And I think the reality of that is of course he's going to have tremendous influence over his brother. He was a past president. I think the other thing that we need to be honest about is Jeb Bush is a politician, ladies and gents. He was working this room. It boded him very well to say that W was advising him on Israel. That is why in that same piece, they say that the room was pleased with the response. He was working that room.
All right, everyone stay with me. Moments ago, Tom Brady arrived for his first public appearance since the NFL's report on Deflategate. What should he say about it, and should he be suspended? That's next.